Actually, I'm gonna remove all you guys. All right, countdown. Hey, welcome everybody. Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Amateur Hour with Drone Tech and Friends, where our motto is just stick with us. Seriously, we'll get our stuff together here eventually. But yeah, thank you everybody for being here. Tonight we have something I think is really special, especially for this channel. We've never had anything this interesting before in the past, mostly just us talking. But this time we have something I think you're all going to enjoy, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But I would like to introduce two of my favorite content creators on YouTube and the best sidekicks that a guy could ever have, Robert Noir and SJG Perspective. Welcome, guys.
What's up, everybody? We're glad to be here.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Hey, I know that you guys have been on here many times, but I think we might have some new viewers today. And just maybe starting with you, SJG, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel real quick. And people should definitely go check out both these guys. It's worth it.
Well, it all started in a really cold day in 1974. Now I just dated myself. It was wet and whatnot. Anyway, no, I have a channel that is kind of dedicated to commentating on, like, you know, news of the day, and I just am kind of irreverent with it. I have a conspiratorial streak in me, so I like to talk about some of that stuff a little bit. And then I also like to do parodies, and so I've done several parodies. I have a few more that I'm going to get back in the cooker. And yeah, so that's kind of what my channel's about. I love to have people on. We do call-ins, and yeah, I just enjoy trying to bring a little levity into the insanity around us. So that's me.
Excellent. And yeah, you're hilarious. I think you're really talented. Everybody should go check him out. By the way, all the links for both channels are in the description. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, my name's Robert Noir. I have lived in rural Pennsylvania my entire life. I was never good at all the things that the people I respect the most, blue-collar workers like my family and friends, were. I went off to college, became one of the better debaters in the country. I realized that my calling, the way I could help the Americans, the normal Americans that I think are the backbone of this country, the way I could help them is by trying to be a voice for them. So I ran for Congress in a special election in 2019. I'll be running in 2022 again. Yeah, and I started my channel, The Normal America Show, which is just about reaching out to normal Americans. I like to reach out to people on all sides of the aisle, although I am a conservative. I'm someone who supports Trump. I think my specialty is outlining the corruption that we see in government and explaining it in a truthful, honest way that someone that doesn't have hours upon hours to watch impeachment hearings or to read, documents that come from the IG. I read all that and watch all that stuff and then try to break it down in a way for normal people. But yeah, that's what I do. And I'm happy to be here as always. So thanks.
Yeah, and definitely, Robert, both of these guys are talents, and they don't have a ton of subs yet. I think they're both around 1,000. Share their channel. 1,500, nice. These guys have earned a lot of followers. They're very interesting and worth it. So real quick, just before we move on to the interviews that we have lined up here, what do you guys think about the fact that Joe Biden is apparently leading in South Carolina? I'm just seeing that. What I thought he was done. What is this?
I think that I'll let Robert go last because he'll have more intelligent thoughts. I think it's hilarious because I haven't even was there a debate tonight or is it just
no.
Okay, no. That was a couple nights ago. Yeah. I think that the Democrats don't know what the hell they're gonna do. They're freaking out because they got Bernie Sanders leading the race. They're gonna do everything they can to knock Bernie out of it, and that's going to really piss off all the Bernie bros, which it already has been. Either one of them, whether it's Biden or whether it's old Bernie, it's going to be a slaughter. It's going to be a landslide. And I know some people are worried and say, "Oh, I don't know, we can't get too comfortable." We all got to get out and vote, but it's going to be an absolute. He's going to just turn them into mincemeat on the. And I really do hope it is Biden, just because it would be so much fun to just see what he would say under that much pressure, being on the same stage with Trump. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hilarious. It's a clown world. Like I said, Robert's going to have something more important to say.
Not really. It's not a surprise, though. The polls have had Biden in the lead in South Carolina for a long time now. This is kind of his hub. He has a lot of support amongst black voters. This is the first state that there's been more of a percentage of black voters, which, take it or leave it, I think that the Democrats haven't done anything for black America as a whole. But Biden has been someone out there that has been talking about this for years and years. So he does have a lot of support from black voters. You remember during the debates, the irony that Kamala Harris, a black woman, could barely get any black support, but Joe Biden was getting a lot. It's just stupidity. Identity politics sucks. But if you
took on Corn Pop, what do you expect?
Right. Now take the polls with a grain of salt. But even with this, I don't think this is a shock. It would have been more of a shock if Biden would have been totally dead in the water if he didn't win tonight. So if you look at the other polls, though, like once we get to places like Nevada, California, Biden's nowhere to be found. I mean, this is something he had to win to stay in it, but I don't think it's indicative of a surge for him or anything.
You know what, though? Here's the thing that I find, the thing that I think is the most interesting is even if he doesn't win the presidency, he might get that Senate seat.
Yeah, for the first. Did you see?
He might get that Senate
the first black woman to the Senate. He said yesterday. It's like that statement's wrong in 50 ways. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I cannot believe with these recent gaffes that he's had too, that they're not getting more. They are getting shut down in the mainstream. People were talking about him, but they are not getting much airplay. But like when he said he was running for Senate, what was it, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago? Oh my God, I want to do a video on that because it was so funny to me.
Yeah.
And just real quick, like 15 seconds. Look, this is the establishment Democrats' plan. They don't care if Buttigieg or Biden or Bloomberg or whoever would win in each of these states, because if they all split it, as long as it's not Bernie winning it, that'll lead to a broker convention. And then we'll see. My prediction is if you can't get behind Buttigieg, Biden, or Bloomberg, the killer bees, then maybe you'll see Michelle or Hillary Clinton or someone come in to save the day at the convention.
Now, we're gonna move on to our first interview here, but let me just say that I don't think that'll happen. I think that they're just gonna. You see some disarray now, but once they pick their candidate, they will unite behind whoever that candidate is.
You even think they'll do that if it's Bernie? You think they're going to unite?
Even if it's Bernie,
that will be gold, though. If they do that with all the shit talking they've done for him up to this point, that will be gold for us, man. To be able to make videos on that stuff.
Yeah,
gold.
But so let's get this thing started. First, joining us, and it's This is a guy I've been wanting to get on here for a while. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do it, but figured live stream is probably the best way. His name is Michael Yankovic, and he's the owner of a growing company. He is an immigrant who came to the U.S. from the former Soviet Russia, and when he came here, he started out a Democrat, and since then he switched parties. He's a Trump supporter now. So everybody, welcome Michael Yankovic.
Michael,
excuse me. Hey, Michael, what's up? How you doing?
Doing fine. How's the microphones? Are good?
Oh,
Yeah.
It's good, man. You sound good. I was kind of hoping you'd go with the headset. I liked it.
Oh yeah, I do have that. My child just brought this over, but
Nice.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get you on here because you're especially relevant now, like more relevant than ever. And we've talked about this in the past, but you came here from a Soviet Russian country, communist country. Although we were talking earlier, and you don't consider it a true communist country, but I guess just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're not a Democrat anymore, and what made you change? Like, what made you decide you didn't want to be a Democrat?
Well, as we discussed earlier, communism is something that someone imagined at some point, and it was never viable. And while when I was growing up, I was always told that the communism is coming, and disregard dogs, but this has nothing to do with
It was great.
Yeah, show off. So as I stated earlier, they kind of rolled back this whole communism situation as I was growing up. So by the time I was 9, and I started noticing things around, and they were kind of calling it developed socialism, because communism was still sort of in the works, but it was delayed indefinitely. So developed socialism. And that when I came here, got off the boat, I went to school. Things were busy. I had to go to school. I had to work. Then I went to some more school. Then I took a little break. I was told that, hey, you're immigrant. Aren't you? Immigrants supposed to be Democrat, because Republicans, they hate immigrants. And it was some Russian lady that told me, and I was like, oh, okay, nice to know. I gotta be delivering pizzas here in 5 minutes, but thanks for letting me know. So next thing I knew, I got my citizenship, and I was voting there for John Kerry. That worked out nicely.
Wow, you voted for John Kerry?
Yeah, I'm sure one of you.
Oh man!
So thanks for thanks for that. And then I wasn't very politically active. I honestly, if someone asked me what political party is Bill Clinton affiliated with, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'd be like, the political party of fornicating in the Oval Office. Is that? And then
depends what the is.
At some point, it kind of became more political, because I started, reading into it a little more. Plus, my English got better, and now I guess I am as political as I've ever been, but I wouldn't call myself a huge Trump supporter, or I'm not worshiping Orange God. I'm just
No one here is.
Yeah, I'm more of a when you have two options and neither one of them is even remotely perfect. You just pick one that is less dangerous in your opinion. And I have my opinion formed by multiple cultures and things that I've seen. And when I see the alternative, it's just not computing with me.
Yeah, like, so you were saying how it's developing socialism. Is that what you called it?
Developed socialism.
Developed socialism. Would you say that the policies? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say that the policies that you see from Democrats now, is it more that? Is it more just that, like, the policies that you knew, or as well as you could have known back then, or as well as you know now, do they mirror what Democrats are doing here?
Well, no.
Okay.
Well, Democratic Party. From what I understand, it was pretty much parity here. You have blue, you have red. Everybody is playing essentially in the same game. But
Mhm.
now, on one side came in this like team leader, a captain wearing orange shirt, and he came to a Republican Party. And then now there is one coming to a Democratic Party with a red shirt, except for orange one is a lot more viable for the sake of capitalism and sake of sustainability of this system. And then now we have red one. He's on a T-shirt, as a matter of fact, right there. And that clicks with me in a very uncomfortable way, because I've seen people preach what he's preaching. I've seen this they call them agitator, which is a agitator. The one that gets on a barricade and gives that speech, and then he gets off the barricade, and then and the people rush, and then they get killed. So these people never practice what they preach.
Yeah.
They always drown your voice of opposition with that, what he does on TV, and then he starts monologuing. The billionaires, they always find a couple of common enemies, and they push off of them. It's the billionaires, it's the 1%, and it's very easy to sell. Plus, free is the easiest thing to sell, right?
Yeah.
Dog's ass is really bothering me.
Oh, you're fine. It's not a big
fine,
deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Has no manner. Sorry.
So I'm wondering, and I'm sure that a lot of other Russian immigrants in America. How do they feel about what they're seeing as far as what's becoming who's taking over the Democrat Party, and not just the Democrat Party, but the media, Hollywood. Hollywood is you watch the awards, and it's like the Academy, or I think it was the Academy Awards. The producer that's been funded by Barack Obama quoted Karl Marx from the Communist Manifesto when she got her award. How does that? How do other Russian immigrants see that?
I saw that movie, the miniseries, The American Factory. I actually liked it a lot, because any glimpse in a foreign corporate culture is very refreshing, especially for people. I studied business, and I know what the concept of power distance and Asian mentality, Russian mentality, American mentality. For someone who never traveled abroad, that is extremely educational show, and I suggest everybody watch it. And I got to give them credit; it is well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
However, the whole concept of Hollywood and their preachy attitude, and how they get on stage and they want to awaken the best of us, and they preach to us on political topics and social topics. And you got to keep in mind that, to me, and I'm new to all this, well, not really new, but I wasn't born here, and my culture is foreign, and my language is my English is my third language. So I see it a little bit different. And also, anyone who grew up in developed socialism, they are dry, coarse, and sarcastic. We've seen it, how it could be, and we see it here in very colorful and rosy shades, because some people live in the United States, they don't appreciate the little pleasures of life. Like when you drive on the road, and your wheel will not be broken off by an open manhole.
Right.
Maybe.
Or maybe, yeah. Well, I'm not speaking for certain municipalities. When I came to States, I had $203 in my pocket, and it felt like I landed in paradise. It was insane. I went to a Kroger store here on Broad Street, and it's not the best neighborhood by far, And I was walking through aisles and I was like, oh my God, look at, they have like 7 types of toilet paper. And then they care about people so much. They even have white toilet paper for husky people. Then I realized those were kitchen towels, but it doesn't matter. It was amazing. It was like, it was horizon broadening stuff.
Yeah. If you look at videos of Venezuela, and there's videos out there at the grocery stores, they got one thing of everything. You get one choice.
I kind of lived through that. It didn't come to that extreme because Russians are not Venezuelans, and our dictator really, he was. I honestly think that Gorbachev was a great man because he surrendered totalitarian power free willingly.
Yeah,
and he doesn't get any credit for it now.
Right, you're right.
If you ask, most Russians will be like, "Oh, he is an absolute screw up. He pissed away this empire, and now Americans are walking all over us." That would be a good half of Russians that would think that. But then there's new generation that is more westernized and more open-minded, and So getting back to Hollywood, when Meryl Streep preaches to me and she says, "Oh, people, guns, they kill children, think of the children, and we need to vote for this candidate or that candidate or anybody else, really." I'm just thinking of her. That is the same woman that was calling Harvey Weinstein God.
Right.
Yeah.
Jewish God, to be exact. That's insulting. And that's the same woman that was right there applauding to Polanski, a convicted pedophile, I think, or,
Yeah.
Yep. Come here, right?
Yep.
So those are the same airways that were praising these people. So anything they say to me, I will do completely opposite.
Yeah.
Let me ask you real quick, kind of on that note. I think that it's amazing that we look at things in a vacuum. And so if we look at our system and we see a problem, you see all sorts of people, particularly on the Democratic stage, that run down America and say, look at all these problems. But as someone who's come from quite a different culture, and like you were saying, you were kind of amazed to have your horizon broaden when you came to the United States. What do you think when you hear people constantly in leadership roles in this country, whether it be Hollywood, whether it be media, or people running for president, even running down America and saying how bad it is?
Well, this is not a new question, and I can answer that as well as anybody else with a common sense. Well, they're welcome to travel to this wonderful China for a year and make their way in China from nothing to something. Try to prosper in something less pleasant, forgiving, or endorsing victim culture. Go to Zimbabwe. Go to there's a lot of socialist countries. Go to Peru, Cuba. I'm not even. You see. You don't need to go to extremes like Cuba, Venezuela. Take any country that embraced socialism, and you're going to be just fine coming back here and kissing the soil. United States, America, nothing is perfect. All right, but you deal with. We only have one life, right? Maybe more, but it depends on your beliefs. And you spend it where you think it is best for you, and where you think your family that you're going to make and bring up that is best for that family. And United States is by far the best. And people can tell me all kinds of horror stories. You have this mass shootings, you have those horrible racism and all that stuff. And I don't even. I don't know. You tell me what else is horrible here, because I'm a little blind to that. But it is still going to be by far better than anything. And I traveled through Canada, and I've been to different places, and I've seen things. And you guys got it sweet.
Yeah.
And then when Bernie gets in the office with these crazy ideas, I'm sure United States, America will persevere. It's only 4 to 8 years. In his case, maybe a year and a half. His VP pick is probably going to be the happiest guy or girl. You know, that's what I do on that debate stage when they are like when he is doing his crazy speeches. You know, instead of rebuttal, I'd be like, "Hey, Bernie, you know, about your health, can I be your VP?"
Yeah, really.
So I wanted to ask Michael something. Michael, when did you come here? I don't know if I caught that or not. How old were you?
95-ish. So
Okay.
it's been a while.
Okay. It was funny because I was over in I spent 6 months in Latvia, well, in the Baltic states. So 3 months in Latvia, and then about 2 months or 3.5 months in Latvia, and about 2.5 months in Belarus. And I actually got mugged in Belarus over there, and it made me think about when you were talking about the grocery stores. We were over there. I was over there in the wintertime, and you know how it is over there in the winter. It was just cold, and ice was everywhere on the roads. And the one thing I noticed back then was everyone looked depressed and sad. There wasn't that many smiles on people's faces. Everyone looked at the ground. Nobody really looked you in the eye. And we were in a market. I got mugged when I was there. So we were in a market there, and I was buying some orange juice because you don't want to drink the water over there is what I was told. So, you just don't want to drink the water. So I was buying some orange juice, and I was with this other girl that was, I was over there with a certain organization, YWAM, a Christian organization. And all of a sudden, and earlier in the day, when we came into town, we went to the bank and we were changing our money over. And at that time, like $10 American was like a month's wages for like people in Belarus, right? And although Belarus wasn't communist anymore, right? But it's still the mindset of the people were still under that kind of oppressive mindset. They hadn't broken free yet, but no, not to say maybe they are today. Who knows? But anyways, we were changing money, and I had I changed $10 over or 20. I pulled a 20 out of my fanny pack that I had stuck up underneath my, my shirt, and I'm sneaking my money out. And I had probably $250 on me, and I'm changing it over to rubles. And all these people were watching, were looking over our shoulders. You could tell we were, foreigners and whatnot, and looking over our shoulders. And there were some people, there was this one specific guy that was watching us real clearly. So then we flash forward a few hours, and we're in that market right before we were going back to our hostel that night. And I was buying some orange juice, and I saw that guy, and he was whispering he was over here whispering and pointing to this other dude who had a shaved head, and he had tattoos on his neck and his face, these crazy tattoos, and some tattoos on his hands. And at that time, I didn't realize that when you have tattoos back, and that would have been 95, 96 when this all went down. No, it would have been 94, 95 when this happened. And back then it wasn't like here where every millennial gets a tattoo, even if they're living in their parents' basement.
He did some hard time, yeah.
Yeah, he did some hard time somewhere, and I didn't know that at the time, but I could tell this guy wasn't effing around. And anyway, so they're whispering and pointing at me, and I'm just like, oh shit, and I'm looking. And so then the guy, he starts walking to me, and he's probably 30, 40 feet away, and he's just walking straight to me. And I'm kind of looking over my shoulder going, oh crap, I hope he turns. Oh crap, he turns. And then finally, when he's about 15 feet or 20 feet from me, I turn around and we just lock eyes, and he walks right up to me, and he goes $20 American right now. And I'm like, $20. I don't have $20. And I really didn't at that. No, he didn't. He asked for $10, and I didn't have a 10. I had a 20s on me is all I had. I'm like, I don't have $10. And he gets all pissed, and this look comes over his face, and he goes, you don't have $10. Sorry about my Russian accent. It's really bad. And he's like, you don't have $10. I'm like, no. And so then we're talking back and forth, and he's asking us what we're doing there. And I'm trying to get on his good side and make him my friend. I'm thinking, man, if I can make him my friend and put a little SJG charm on him, maybe he won't mug me. And so he asked me what we're doing there, and I tell him, we're with a Christian organization. He's like, oh, missionario. And he's laughing, and now he's got a whole bunch of buddies behind him, and they're laughing. And finally, we talked for 10 minutes. We're going up, and the line took forever. That was one thing I remembered. It took they did not have any idea about customer service, right? It was just like, we'll get to you when we get to you. So finally, like 10 minutes of talking, 15 minutes of talking with this guy, he's moving up with me in the line. Finally, I get to the cashier and he goes, what do you want? And I tell him orange juice. So he orders in Russian. He gets the orange juice, gives it to me. I give the lady my rubles and she gives it back. And then I'm like, thanks, man. That was really nice. I'm like, and he's like, $10. And then he goes, $10. And I'm like, oh, damn it. It didn't work.
What the hell? That's the goofiest story I've ever heard about being mugged.
It's so funny. So at the end, then I go, I don't have it, man. He goes, you don't have it. He goes, $10. And then he goes like this. And I'm like, that can't be a good sign. So finally I get down in my little fanny pack I had, or my little, packet I had in my sock, right? And I'm like pulling out, and I pull out a 20 and I just give it to him. And he's like, thank you, Matt. And he just walks away. And I thought he was going to beat the shit out of me.
You didn't ask for change? Come on.
I know. I tried giving him the rubles at first. I'm like, can I give it to you in rubles? $10. And he's like, no. He wanted American money. And so I don't know, man. It was crazy. But anyways, I don't know where I was going there somewhere with that whole story about Belarus and whatnot. Oh, it's just about the way the people. Is it still? I mean, when you left, did you have that were people just kind of depressed and just dark and gloomy? I mean, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, and before you answer, Michael, my feeling about socialism and communism and about those things coming into American life. The only thing I can think of is mediocrity. That seems to be the overall theme, is mediocrity. America has its problems, but we're not mediocre. We're always innovating. We're always changing. But I think that if we went the route of Bernie Sanders, it would be more, instead of raising up everybody that we can, everybody's just going to be equally miserable. I mean, is that pretty much the way it goes?
There are a few things I need to address here. Well, firstly, on the bottom of the screen, it said former Democrat, Republican now, and such. I don't think these labels really work anymore, just like that.
Yeah.
When I was Democrat, values for both parties were quite different from what they are.
Yeah.
And now that I'm quote unquote Republican, I would say that I would, a conditional Trump supporter at this point, because every most comprehensive political affiliation test that I took, I ended up 55% blue. And but these 55% are not enough to stay with actual, to sit on that donkey anymore. I kind of fell off and got stepped on, by that elephant. So about the Belarus, yes, 95-ish would be the absolute the heart of all that lawlessness when Soviet regime fell and police, Soviet law enforcement kind of dissolved, and then those gangs, regional gangs, they took over the vacuum in law and power. And eventually, KGB and especially in Belarus and newly established Russian law enforcement, they kind of took that power back, and these gangs got eventually killed off, or they moved up to politics. So I can absolutely see what you're saying. And then about people, yes. Back in the day when you came to the United States, and I came here first time in 1990 as guest for 1 month, just a private, guest of my father's friend who was affiliated with OSU. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. Firstly, people smile at you and they look you in the eyes, and women smile at you when they look at you, and that can be perceived in the wrong way. If you're someone from the Eastern Bloc, you think that this girl is interested in you in some way, and that could be detrimental to your situation. So never happened to me, though. I always understood that it's just them being nice. It's not because I'm good looking or anything. That was obvious. Yes, people were kind of down. It was very depressing. We were, even during those developed socialist days, we were told that United States, the imperialist power, the evil of the world, all these things we should hate and despise, and we would write these like joint letters to President Reagan that he should start treating African American people better, and he should stop doing this and that. And the whole class in my middle school would sign, and it would send it over, and it would probably be thrown away somewhere. But on the ground level, people never hated or despised Americans. Mm-hmm. They were always like these awesome, cool people with, wearing cowboy hats and driving those pickup trucks, and they had jeans. Jeans were awesome. And it was just great. And they had chewing gum that was sweet and delicious, and it lasted more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, jeans were like a political symbol for in a lot of countries.
Yeah, if you had Levi's, oh my God, Levi's, Sharp cassette player, tape recorder. I have two of them that I, when I find them in the garbage, I keep them. So, and when later on, when you had VCR, whoa, you got me. And then Moskvich or Lada, if you're wealthy, Lada was great. My father owned one. I want to buy one now. So you never knew how sweet you had it here, and now Russians borrowed so much English language, and they're so westernized. Sometimes I don't want to understand that language anymore, because half of it is English words.
That's weird. That's crazy, man. Yeah. Ultimately, I hope it doesn't ever come here, because I love this country and I love what we do. I love the innovation. I love, I'm a right winger, but I love the diversity of this country. I love all the different people. And I just hope we don't go the direction of mediocrity. And I do appreciate you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Misha.
Go ahead. About mediocrity, there was a third thing I was supposed to mention, mediocrity is, the way you define it is lack of progress, education, and that probably is not the case. It's a society where your personal effort is not rewarded, or
exactly
not rewarded with anything tangible, is just, it is anti-Darwinian, if I can say that.
Exactly, you're right.
That's human nature. Because how
exactly,
I hate drawing these parallels, but how do you train your puppy to do something with reward? You give it you give it a snack or something, and then it sits and it does things for you. Well, I know it's pretty terrible analogy, but okay, let's switch to free education. For example, you have free education available for everybody, okay? People go to those colleges and universities, they get that free education. That education is exactly as good as what you paid for it. Mm-hmm. And then you have people that's supposed to propel science, medicine, pretty much anything. And these people get paid government-appointed 180 rubles a month.
Mm, yeah.
And they're supposed to do creative work without any tangible reward.
Yeah.
When a cab driver who's getting tips and who is doing commercially prudent routes can make 300, 400, 500 rubles a month. Or, when I was growing up in, developed socialist days, a doctor, a cardiologist, or, physician could be selling Chinese counterfeit goods at a flea market just because those 180, 200 rubles a month are enough to buy, groceries for like a week maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the point of a cab driver who has a degree in advanced engineering, or someone who sold you a pack of gum at a flea market who has degree in internal medicine? Or you go to that socialist hospital if you need something, and then you sit there for like 5-6 hours, and then you finally get in, and this doctor who is seeing you, who, he's telling you, well, you got this and that, you need this expensive drug which is not available through social pharmacy, but if you have friends overseas or family, maybe they can buy it for you. And then on Saturday, this person will go and sell goods at the flea market just to feed their family. I'm sure right now situation in Russia is quite different, and it's better because they're no longer socialist country.
Right.
Their capitalism might be totalitarian. Some would say it might be ugly, it might be unpleasant,
Authoritarian.
but it is gone.
Yeah.
They shook it off. So whoever praises Russia for their public transportation, for their beautiful subway stations, for their education,
It's okay now.
We had like 70% higher education level among masses. And what those diplomas were good for? Hopefully the paper was soft.
Well, I don't want to end this because it's really interesting, but Bill's sitting there waiting, so we got to get to him. But Michael, I do appreciate you coming on. I think that we're going to see more of you, hopefully. I've talked to you about we're going to do, once the real debates start, we're going to just do some streams of that, and I want you for that. And I do hope you'll stay around, actually, if you want. You can stick around for Bill Bailey here. It should be interesting. But real quick, I am going to go to a quick ad here real quick, and then we're going to bring on Bill Bailey. So stick around for that. It'll be just a minute. Thanks, guys. All right, we are back. Sorry, folks. And I just want to make a quick note. I did say it's a guaranteed 2-day delivery. They've actually been overwhelmed over the course of the last 2 weeks. And so their delivery dates are actually further out now. So when I did that ad originally, they were still doing the 2-day, but it could be up to 28 days now. So just a forewarning. So now we are going to go ahead and bring everybody back. And I'm going to bring on Bias Pundit. Welcome, sir.
Sorry, folks.
Thank you.
Make a quick note. I did say it's a guaranteed 2-day delivery. They've actually been overwhelmed.
I'm like, he sounds like me.
Delivery dates are actually.
He has to shut that off in the background.
Yeah.
Originally, they were still doing.
I'll just give him a minute here, but just real quick. So I'll just let you guys all know who Bill Bailey is. I met him on Twitter during an argument with John Ziegler. If you're familiar with him, he's a Fox guy, never Trumper. And I met Bill in that. He seemed like a reasonable guy. And I thought, hey, let's bring him on. We'll talk about his never Trumper beliefs, what he thinks about Trump. And just along those lines, I thought it'd be interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and try and bring him back on now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. All right. Well, you're
Welcome,
going to hear
Bill.
a baseball game in the background. Thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate it.
No, you sound great. It sounds great. I don't hear anything but you.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead and just tell everybody about who you are, your website, and all that.
Well, I'm still working on my website. I've got to find time. Basically, my day job, I'm a systems engineer for a contract with the Border Patrol. I'm not going to go into details for obvious reasons. And I've been an active, political activist on the conservative movement, if it still exists, the one that I started in, back in 1988, 89. So I was just getting out of high school, joined the Navy, got out of the Navy, launched my own Tea Party movement in 2009 and 10. That went defunct around 2014 for obvious reasons. And I volunteered for the Convention of States for about 3 years till they went QAnon on me. And I have inside information with Mark Meckler's emails himself and the Convention of States state captain for the state of California, fully trying to incult me, if that's a term, into their QAnon ideology. So hopefully that's in a nutshell. I've done a lot in between. I build websites. I do a lot of, endpoint encryption security for people that want to stay under the radar, but, kind of expose things on both sides of the fence.
Mhm.
So that's it in a nutshell, who I am. A dad,
Okay.
father. So
Nice. And yeah, you're not at all who I was imagining in my head. I had this kind of fat, balding, aging, I don't know, something, not you. I didn't know any of that about you. So that's good. That's interesting to learn. And that's interesting to hear about the Tea Party stuff. I was never, directly involved with the Tea Party, but I've been involved in calling out media bias and that stuff since those days. I was a regular defender of the Tea Party and what, the hack job the media regularly did on them. It's in fact, and I'll just say this real quick, but it's a lot like how the media treats Trump now and the things they do to him now, real similar to what they did to the Tea Party. But maybe we'll come back to that later.
Okay.
So I want to get started here. Excuse me. When you say that you're a never Trumper, does that mean that you just hate Trump, but you like guys like, Bush and Romney, or are you just kind of tired of them all? It kind of sounds like the latter.
Yeah, no, I'm a never Trumper in that he's the titular, boil on the end of a nose of an underlying acne problem across the whole damn face. Okay, so he is the result of losing principles, the result of, bringing in Kirk into this fake ideology guy that claims he's a Christian, but is really just kind of like the Glenn Becks. They're out there, they're blowing with the wind because that's where the money is going to keep them in existence.
So wait, when you say let me interject for a second. When you say like Glenn Beck was kind of a never Trumper. He got a lot of crap because he wasn't he wasn't on the Trump train in the beginning too.
Yeah, I hear that, but he never ever proclaimed to be a never Trumper. He was always walking the line, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that he was never actually an outspoken never Trumper like me or anybody else. But he, like I said, he was blowing in the wind. He was looking for which way is the wind blowing, and he got right in line with everybody else, and is now an outright apologist for the guy. I mean, he's that's just Trump, kind of thing, and it's pathetic. If I can clear something up, the never Trumper crowd is not. It's not a 1 or 2, 3 off kind of thing. It's a multifaceted thing. There's never Trumpers on the left. There's never Trumpers in the GOP. The never Trumper that I am is the originalist conservative. I don't say libertarian because I don't like the libertarians either. I think they're just as fake and phony as any other group that is trying to have their cake and eat it too. Socially liberal but fiscally conservative. That's an oxymoron. That doesn't exist. That's not reality. If you're socially liberal, guess what? A fool and his money will soon part. So I'm an absolutist to about the nth degree that I could possibly get there, with some Christian compassion behind it. I mean, I understand. You're never going to convince somebody that, hey, gay marriage is not normal, and I kind of fall in the line where, hey, if Glenn Beck says something true, I'm going to agree with it. And the one thing he said, and it's in the libertarian movement itself, and I'm not going to deny truth when I hear it. the government should get the hell out of our business of marriage.
Right. I
and
agree
just
with you
let
there.
us marry, the fence if we want to. Okay. So that way it takes the monetary portion out of it. And, I'm not going to go into great detail. You guys see where I'm going.
Yeah, I've been saying
I'm
that
a
since the
purist.
beginning of this.
I'm a pre-1880 purist. Let's just put it that way.
Who did you vote for instead of Trump?
What's that?
Who did you vote for as opposed to Trump?
I wrote in Donald Duck.
So that seems like I would think that one of the things we need to do is fight back the corruption that we see in the deep state and places like the media. I think that Trump's at least a step in that direction. I don't think Donald Duck would accomplish that.
That's how.
I mean, it's a joke, right? It's a joke
I get it.
because I live in a joke state. It's California. Sure. So it didn't mean anything here. Now, if I was in Idaho or Montana or someplace like that, I would have found a write-in. I would have probably stepped up my game in my political activism, and I would have probably tried to push for, a viable third alternative.
Well, give me an example of something, like, even if it's not someone that you could vote for, but who would you say is a person or a movement that's out there politically right now that you would support over Trump to get back to constitutional conservatism?
Justin Amash.
Amash.
Yes.
Who pushed the Russia hoax?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So do you believe the Russia hoax?
I believe there are truths in it. I don't believe all of it. But
okay, so why would
also,
it's someone who's pushing for constitutional conservatism. Why would you cheer for someone who's spearheading the effort to have corrupt intel agencies spy on a president of the United States using the most powerful investigative agency in the history of the world?
Well, I would suggest you go back and read J. Edgar Hoover and work your way forward, because this crap has been going on for a very long time.
Exactly. So why wouldn't we vote for someone who's at least his very function of existing has outed the corruption? I mean, we now know that 17 times the FBI lied to use unverified opposition resource sourced by Kremlin agents to spy on Donald Trump.
Okay, but we also know that Trump, reneged on, testifying in person to Mueller and wrote at least 6 known lies to Mueller. I mean, if we're going to talk about lying, we're going to spin ourselves in a circle here, because that's a waste of time.
But we're not talking about lying.
No,
we're talking about corruption of the highest magnitude, like lying about crowd size or not wanting to testify in front of a crooked person like Mueller that's trying to set him up and engaged in a coup against him. That's not lies on the same level of the most powerful investigative agency in the history of the world being weaponized to go after a democratically elected president.
Well, you just lost me with the stupid ass term coup. We're not France, dude. Say, wake up. All right.
Yeah, Charlie Cuck was so much more mature than coup. You're right. You got me there.
Well, and the other thing is, I'm going to warn you, because I tend to be a lot like Trump. I'm pretty boisterous and in your damn face.
That's fine.
Fine by me.
I don't mind. But I also will shake your hand and be your best friend.
Yeah, me too. Me too. No hard feelings.
Well, so,
we're cheering for your son to have a triple-double tonight in the basketball game, by the way.
Yeah, I'm actually watching my son right now. He's almost up to bat again. So
that's awesome, man. I love that. But real quick, so I kind of want to return to what I was saying earlier. So I find it kind of odd that, and so I can totally understand some of your problems with Trump. I can understand it. He's not the most eloquent man. He's kind of childish. He, in a lot of ways, although I'm not 100% convinced that it's not part of an overall strategy, but so I can get that. But and his banging a porn star and paying her to be silent and all of that, I get it. But the fact that the media has made him enemy number one since before he was elected. They've been trying to impeach him since before they were talking about impeaching him before he was elected. And then literally the media, the day he was inaugurated, started with impeachment talk. These are not that specifically, but just a lot of the attacks on Trump, the lying about all the racist stuff, the lying about calling neo-Nazis good people. These are all the kind of things that they did to the Tea Party. So,
okay.
Are you okay with being basically de facto aligned with these people?
No, I'm not aligned with them, because this is the problem. What you are sounding like, and this is not personal, is a broken record. I've heard this for 35 plus years.
Yeah.
I've
been saying it for a long time.
The media is attacking, and the media is attacking the media. Okay, so what? That's their freaking job.
Well,
okay?
no, wait a second.
And try to expose something. But here's my problem.
No,
My
wait
problem
though.
is
Hold
that
on.
I may have been in a fever pitch coming out of the Tea Party movement, thinking, okay, we're going to finally get a real conservative. I mean, more conservative than Ronald Reagan in here. And here comes this freaking goon from reality TV. He's a bullshit artist. He's a con man, and he's even. What's that? Yeah,
they all are.
I know, but not to this extent. I mean,
he's the best.
Was supposed to be the party of conservatism. He's not a conservative. He was a Democrat for 60 years of his life. He was helping de Blasio get elected. He was helping the Clintons. He went to freaking Christmas with George Soros. Give me a break. And now he's blown up our budget. I mean, this is the problem. We are not moving the needle to the right. This guy is signing all their freaking bills. You really think they were going to impeach him and remove his ass from office? No way. But he is their pawn right now.
Listen, here's the problem. Why has the conservative movement then, as you would like to see it, failed for the past 60 years?
Well, I tell you what, I saw it firsthand with the Convention of States. So,
sure.
Mark Levin came up with a great idea in a book, and we ran with it. And I think at one point we were up to 23, 24 states. Now they're down to 14.
Right.
So,
why?
Because they suck. That's why.
Well, and also because
they don't know how to organize.
There's such corruption in Washington where we even have, you laugh at the term coup. That's why you'll continue to fail. As long as you leave the corrupt people that really run the government, then you could go out and push every Justin Amash you want, and it's not going to do anything. You could have the most fiscally conservative Christian person ever run. He could be inspiring to people and he won't have a shot as long as he capitulates to the people in the intel agency, the people in the deep state. And so to align yourself and say, I'm going to cheer for Justin Amash, who pushes having unelected bureaucrats run the government in hopes that will lead me to true constitutional conservatism.
Well,
I mean, the founding fathers would be appalled.
I believe in trickle-down economy, okay? And I believe in trickle-up conservatism. I'm not aligning, so don't put words in my mouth. What I'm saying is that we're taking a step in the right direction with him. Is he the end-all to be-all? No. But he is way more conservative and has the credentials and has a voting record. Even on Mark Levin's, website, he's an A-rated conservative, okay? So,
But okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but okay, get the best conservative you want to get. Can he fight the media? Can he fight Democrats? Can he put them down? Can he destroy them? Because believe it or not, that is important, because before Trump, it was just us getting destroyed constantly by the media. And earlier you said, we've been saying this, it's a broken record. It kind of reminds me of when Democrats or left-wingers say, oh, that's whataboutism. The reason I'm pointing to that is to show that there's double standards, and if we're always just allowing them to enforce these double standards on us, we're just always going to be getting beat up and pushed to the periphery. I mean, I understand your reasons for not liking Trump, but
I agree with you. Double standard, I can't stand it. But right now, the right wing is living their own double standard. This guy is a laughing stock to the GOP just less than 8 years ago.
The GOP 8 years ago was a laughing stock.
And I mean the conservative wing of the GOP.
They said Bush was a laughing stock.
What's that?
They said Bush was a laughing stock.
I know. And so what we've lost is, here's what we've lost, and here's what needs to happen, in my opinion. Somehow or another, the deep state is all the rules that have established a two-party system. That's the true deep state. Because the deep state is just doing what the bureaucracy is demanding them to do. Okay, so when Donald Trump bails out the frickin' farmers because his tariffs have screwed shit up, then that's deep state too, isn't it? Right? That's deep state. I mean, that's
he definitely does things that I don't approve of. Like, the biggest criticism I have against Trump, other than attacking Syria, is the deficit spending. I'm sure, you could talk for hours if you're in the Tea Party how Trump's terrible for that. You're absolutely right. My point is this: it's a triage system. You have to focus on what's most important first. No issue matters if your vote doesn't matter. If there are intel agents that are using the FBI to weaponize and go after anyone who will be critical of the intel apparatus, none of your issues matter, because they will prevent any true constitutional conservative from ever coming to power. Trump is a weapon to get to that point where we could out this corruption. Whether he succeeds or not, we'll have to see.
I believe he's a weapon, but not in the sense that you're just explaining it. What I think is the true weapon is the rules that have been established in the two-party system to make it a binary unibrow system. They have locked out any kind of third party. In fact, if you want to know the truth, we should go back to the frickin' Whig system where there was multiple parties, multiple choices, and an actual debate between them to find out who the hell was the most qualified to be president.
Sure,
Isn't
that's
that what's
all
happening?
good, but how is
Isn't
it
that what's
Trump
happening
a step
right now?
in that direction? Like that's fine. Trump at least is challenging and outing what that corruption is that allows that system to exist.
Well, I agree with you, but I just don't think the out is what you think I think. The out is he's exposing the frauds in the Republican Party. Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, they're all Rush Limbaugh. They're freaking frauds. They've been fraud.
I don't know about that.
I detected. Well, you know what? Listen to this. I called Rush Limbaugh's show in 2002 once. And he was all on the damn Apple bandwagon. Okay, so I'm a systems engineer. I do IT stuff.
He has been for years.
If you're gonna compare Apple to capitalism, you're a fool. You're a damn fool. That guy was a tyrant. He deserved to die the horrible death that he got. And I'm glad the guy at the very end finally woke up and realized what a jerk off he was and had some repentance in him, because I think he may have made it into heaven with that. But here's the problem. I'm going to go radical here. Here's the problem. Rush Limbaugh called that guy, and I knew from that point on that there was something wrong with this guy. He's not all there. This nationalism is not conservatism. Nationalism is not even patriotic. It's a step towards fascism. And I'm not saying we're fascists. I'm not saying Trump is. I'm just saying we're now turning in that direction.
So so hang on a second. I want to get in here on this whole thing. So you say now, so when you say nationalism is a step towards fascism, are you more on the global, kind of a globalization kind of a stuff? I mean, are you like basically a globalization? Is that what you are?
No, I'm basically where the founders were when they left it. You've got to have a presence at the Horn of Africa, right, to stop the pirates. But outside of that, leave the rest of the freaking world alone. I know we're a global economy. I get that. I get all this stuff, and we can be involved in global economics, but we need to be sort of on the protectionist side. And I know I'm going to sound a little bit like Trumpism here, but
you just criticized Trump's tariffs.
But see, I think we're veering off. So the problem really resides in the parties. They have cornered everybody out. It's just left and right, red and blue. That's not what we were supposed to have. And Benjamin Franklin told us all this.
But wouldn't you say that? I know Trump rubbed his shoulders back in the day and was a Democrat and all that other good stuff. But wouldn't you say that yes, he's a Republican, but he's kind of not a Republican in some ways. He's kind of he's kind of in that grayish in between state, if you will.
No, you nailed it. He's not a Republican. He probably sides. I think if you were to sit down personally as a family member, you would realize he's more on the left side of center than he is on right. And I would say that he's definitely not a party person. He's all about himself. And that's just as dangerous as having somebody in there that's just completely binary, red or blue.
I think that's not necessarily. I think that's a lot of that is an act. It's an act that he. Well, it's not so much an act. It's just a strategy that he knows works, and it is working. I don't buy that. I don't buy that he's just some wild bull in a china shop kind of. I get that he is not eloquent and this sort of thing, but I'm sorry, but how do you get through everything, all the gauntlet that he's gotten through? That no other Republican in a million years would ever survive. How has he done it? You think he's just tripping and clumsily?
No. He's a calculated individual, and I don't believe. I tell people at work that are left of center that call him an idiot, and I go, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot if you think he's an idiot." He absolutely is calculated. He knows how to sell. He knows how to push an idea. I mean, he did it so well. He called up and pretended to be somebody else when it was himself on phone calls to the media to push his own stuff.
I mean,
So,
I'm sorry, but you're contradicting yourself over and over. For example, you say the most important thing is to end this corrupt system, but you're willing to support someone like Justin Amash more than Trump, who pushes the corrupt intel system because Trump one time called into a show and pushed himself under an anonymous name.
Well, this is before he was in politics.
Exactly. So why is it even relevant? I mean, what I don't get.
I'm establishing the reality that this guy is not an idiot. To assume he's an idiot it makes you an idiot.
Okay. Well, if I concede, for example, I could even concede your argument, though I'm not, but for the sake of argument, that Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin, they're all hypocrites, and Trump's outing them all. Okay, great. Why are you against him again? You're not saying, well, hey, I don't really like Trump, but he's the better choice. You're calling yourself a never-Trumper. So what is it about this person outing the hypocrisy and the terrible nature of the system that upsets you so much that you call yourself a never-Trumper?
I'm sorry, you sound like a 100%er. Like it's all one way or the other. I mean, you sound binary, but what I'm saying is that what I said earlier, that there's truth in everything. There's some truth in everything. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So the reality is that he's exposing stuff, but there's nobody there except for myself and a handful of other people like Strident Conservative, David Leach, that are saying, hey, this guy is actually hurting the cause of conservatism in more ways than he's helping. Yeah, is he exposing a few frauds? Hell yeah, he is, and good, because I think we're in kind of an awakening period, a cleansing period, and it needs to be cleaned out. And I think in the long run, if we can get control of the party's apparatus, which is really the true deep state of all this, they're locking out of third parties and not allowing independents and other parties to make themselves present. I mean, they're staging these debates. I mean, they're all staged.
1988, I believe it was, the National Organization of Women ran all the debates in this country. They pulled through from sponsoring them because they got upset that they no longer allowed third parties in. Now, this is something that I've been on just like you. I think that it's ridiculous. I think that sometimes the establishment on the right and the establishment on the left in the Republican and Democratic Party, it's a charade. We all talk about that all the time on this channel. What I'm not understanding is I ask you, who would you put forth? Who would you have rather voted for? You say Justin Amash. So it seems to me you're understanding. You're saying, we say, what's your big issue? You say corruption. The corruption that will keep us away from having a true person of integrity be a constitutional conservatism because they've rigged the game. So I talked to you about, yes, not only did they rig the game since way back when, but now they're actually using the FBI to spy on presidential candidates. And your argument is, well, I'd rather support the guy that's supporting that corrupt intel agency than Trump because Trump's not a true conservative.
Well, so first of all, I don't buy into the whole, they're using the agency. I think the agency has its own political gains to make. I think it has its own internal politics to gain from, and I think Comey exposed that reality. I don't think it was.
How was that exposed?
Come on, what you're talking about is a freaking conspiracy on a level that's impossible to humanity. Okay, that's just stupid.
I'm talking about that. So yeah, you're telling me the whole FBI.
You're telling me the whole FBI is a corrupt organization that sided with one party to rid. No.
Yeah, I mean, the evidence.
That's what happened.
Listen. Did you read the IG report? Did you read the IG report?
I've got some land on the moon to sell you too.
We didn't go there, but that's a whole different subject.
You do. If you believe that the FBI wasn't corrupt, I'm sure you believe you do have land on the moon to sell.
Hang on.
Did you read the IG report?
If there's a government agency that doesn't have corruption, then you know what? Then we're all wrong.
Let me get a thought in here. Hang on a second. Hang on. Before I forget where I was going with. Damn it, I forgot. It was a really good point too to get you guys.
Okay. So let me get back to this. So I read the IG report. I saw that 17 times they lied, including manufacturing evidence to spy on Donald Trump's campaign. The IG report said that there were teams of up to 4 or 5 people at the very head of the FBI, all handpicked by Comey and McCabe. Now you tell me how that doesn't mean that they're
on
corrupt.
Hillary's campaign.
What's that?
And And before that, they were spying on Hillary's campaign.
Dude, they investigated Hillary's campaign, knew that they committed crimes as been proved by Strzok's 302s, decided to give everyone immunity, then deleted the evidence of the crimes they committed, then found out that someone named Paul Combetta used BleachBit to delete subpoenaed evidence that went to Congress. Then James Comey went on national television and explained exactly how Hillary Clinton broke the law, and they still didn't arrest one person connected to Hillary.
And just a few days ago, Trump just nullified a mob member, right? I mean,
okay.
Jeffrey,
I mean, it's irrelevant. These are non sequiturs.
No, it isn't. You're talking about corruption. It's a dog chasing its tail. It's all corrupt.
I think we're talking about different levels of corruption, though, on that.
My point
and what I was going to say is on your conspiracy. Hang on, let me get my thought.
What we're doing is getting bogged down into the whole nitty gritty of who's more corrupt.
Hang on a second,
Bill,
guys.
hold on.
This is my thought. You said, how could you buy in that conspiracy that the whole FBI? I don't think we're saying the whole FBI and every single member of the FBI was in on this. But what we're saying is the top level of the FBI, the
institution was used.
I'm not saying every single member of the FBI had a morning coffee and bagels, and they were like, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to spy on Trump, and then we're going to let Hillary off, and then bling, bling, blah, blah, blah. But what we're saying is that there was the high level officials in the FBI did some illegal shit to Trump, and they let Hillary off without anything.
So I work with people in the FBI, and I'm telling you right now, they all have to be told to go do something. Where's the whistleblowers? If that was so corrupt, if that was so bad, there should have been a whistleblower. And I know that there's conservatives in there because I'm friends with them. So,
yeah, you're right.
So Comey didn't do the job himself. He had to get one of his agents to go do the work.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a nonsense argument. That's like saying, well, no one got shot at Ruby Ridge. Where were the whistleblowers?
You don't even know how the organization works if you think Comey can do it all himself.
They must have faked that death, or the FBI at Ruby Ridge would have came out and said, oh no, something was wrong with it. We saw the whistleblower. We had IG Horowitz interview people that told him exactly what happened. Are you denying IG Horowitz's report on FISA abuses?
I haven't read the whole report, but I'm going to tell you right now.
You definitely should know about that report.
I don't believe in conspiracies at this level at all, because it's impossible. Humans can't.
Why is it impossible? Why is it impossible?
But we know that there was.
Because humans are stupid. If you haven't noticed, look at how screwed up we've.
Bill. We know for a fact. Mueller the report stated that they had. I mean, they lied to get those. To get the FISA warrants. I mean, they lied about what's his shits? I forgot his name all of a sudden.
Bill, what you don't realize is you make my point for me. We have definitive proof that the FBI, one, manufactured evidence to say the opposite of what it was. So they had a report that Carter Page actually was a CIA asset, and they changed that email to say he wasn't. Two, that the subsource of Christopher Steele fully admitted that, yes, everything Steele said was a lie, that the entire dossier was garbage, and that they broke protocol and lied 17 times in order to spy on Trump's campaign. Where were the whistleblowers? And then you say, well, if there were no whistleblowers, that proves there wasn't corruption. Well, no, the fact that there weren't whistleblowers and we've proven the corruption shows how deep the corruption goes.
Right, and I just want to add to that real quick.
You're choosing to believe the whole story from one side, from one angle, and I don't choose to do that.
The investigator. That's who I believe it from. Which side do you believe it from? Did the
FBI try to pull a coup on Hillary when they decided to reopen the case just before the election?
No, it's quite clear what happened. If you read James Comey's own book, he told you exactly what happened. One, there was a whistleblower inside the FBI that knew they were sitting on Weiner's laptop. I said sitting on Weiner. That's always good. They knew they were sitting on Weiner's laptop for over a month and didn't do anything. Comey was trying to run out the clock until after the election. So once that whistleblower went beyond the FBI and started to report to the NSA and congressional oversight, they were forced to reopen the case. They then claimed they went through 500-something thousand emails in 3 days and shut the case. And Comey admitted the only reason he came public with it was he was assuming that Hillary would win the election, and this would be an albatross around her neck in the first year of her presidency.
And I think it's far more simplistic than the whole story you just told. I think Comey's way in over his head politically. That he was being drugged into this, and I think that he tried to kick and scream a little bit. And and I think honestly and you're not gonna like this, I think the most innocent group out of all this is the FBI. They got pulled into a corrupt freaking political system that I keep going back to. If we don't fix the damn two-party system, you and I are gonna keep talking like this.
So why is there
for the rest of our freaking lives and our kids' lives?
I don't even know how to how can you say that the FBI is the most innocent group in this, using unverified Kremlin source information, changing evidence to say so let me just real quick, give me 30 seconds. Here's your version. Because we have a two-party system,
Talk over each other.
Because we have a two-party system, the FBI didn't know that they're not supposed to change evidence to say the opposite of what it says. Because the two-party system. That's your argument. Well, I mean, that's nonsense.
When Obama was in office, he stacked the deck, put all of his cronies inside the top echelons of each department, CIA, FBI, all that. My problem is, and this is another argument against Trump. What the hell is this guy doing? He can't even put a freaking cabinet together. And he's supposed to be representing the conservative right wing. Bull
maybe
crap.
that has to do.
What you're doing is you're saying I should be supporting Trump because he's playing fire with fire. No, he's not. He's playing Apple Jacks with people with blowtorches, and he's way in over his freaking head. He doesn't know how to go after this thing. He has no clue. He can't build a freaking wall.
Do you think that he maybe underestimated how deep the the deep state or the
no, he helped. No, how does a guy that helped build the freaking swamp
know how
deep the damn thing is?
How did he help build it?
De Blasio, he funded He funded all of the people that we were yelling and screaming about just 10 years ago. All the freaking Marxists and before Bernie, it was De Blasio in New York. It was George Soros. It was all these people. This guy was best friends with all of them.
Again, the irony here is you're saying that someone who, as a businessman, used the corrupt system
He's not a businessman. Come on, get off this bullshit. He's not a businessman. He nearly drove his dad's business into the freaking ground. He had to go into government in order to bail his ass out. This is a joke.
Let me just say, it's evident. You keep saying, "Oh, it's not about the things before he's a president. He wasn't a businessman. He drove it. He promoted himself using a fake name." But the FBI manufacturing evidence and using unverified information to spy on the president, they're the most innocent. I'm more concerned that someone acted as lobbied to our government to benefit themselves financially before they were in government. You're more concerned with that than the actual levers of our government being corrupt and being used in a corrupt fashion to spy on a candidate that was going to investigate.
In a moment in time where 3 years into this guy's presidency, he's the head honcho, man. He's the target. And when Bush was in there, guess what? He was my target. And when his idiot dad was in there and said no new taxes, he was my freaking target. You see what the problem is?
At least you're consistent.
You want to get back to my actual solution? How do we break the freaking two-party system up?
Sure, go ahead.
That's happening.
Tell us.
That's happening right now, thanks to Trump.
That's what I'm asking
you
for.
And I were talking about this. You and I were talking about this.
Yes. And that's
okay.
If we what's happened is we have become balkanized. We're balkanized because we're allowing two parties to freaking destroy us from within. And the Chinese and the Russians are laughing their asses off all the way to the freaking bank on it.
I mean, it sounds good. That sounds fine. We could agree on that. But again, why is Trump not you would rather have Justin Amash than Trump to break up the two-party system?
So
somehow.
That's the problem. I could say this. I wish that all of us were rich and there was such thing as disease. Therefore,
how about we get serious here? No one man's going to do this. It's going to be us. And I thought it was the Tea Party. And again, I am still recovering from a fever when I realized the Tea Party was nothing but a freaking joke itself too. And what it looks like is that like the Convention of States, it looks like defunct DC. Hold on, there. My son just made a hit. Yeah. Hold on. So it looks like Mark Meckler is a defunct DC hack. He couldn't hack it as a damn lobbyist. So what does he do? He goes around and he says, "We're going to do this, and we're going to give us money," and that's how he survives. I mean, the Republican Party, and I said this during the Tea Party movement in the early first years of Obama. What we need to do is somehow, and this is where you and I might agree with, I think this is where you think Trump went, but we need to adopt some of the tactics of the left in order to beat the left. This was one of my mantras back in 2009 and 10.
That's what Trump has done.
No, he hasn't. He's suckered everybody into benefiting himself. So the reality,
I don't know about that, man.
He puts the carrot out there, and everybody starts to try to bite at it like a bunch of donkeys.
How is any of this benefiting him?
Hold on.
He's
let me
under
finish my thought. Let me finish.
assault.
Let me finish my thought. So my point is that what I was trying to get the Tea Party to move towards is getting people like Rush Limbaugh and people with money, like Trump. Even, I mean, Trump never donated to the Tea Party movement, so I don't understand why we can't get movements going like the left does. If we can get real legitimate movements and make some damn dings in the door, we can start knocking it down.
You're showing it. Look, and I'm not blaming you specifically, but look at the media is filled with people like you that the media uses against their own your own side. So of course, like,
I don't have a side anymore. That's the thing and
well,
this is confusing.
It's kind of hard.
Go ahead.
Oh, this is confusing to even some of the people that I was, running the Tea Party boards with. If we don't stop the sides, don't end the sides, we're going to always be on a side. And it's always going to be a left and right thing. But for some reason, and I can't figure this out, and maybe you guys can figure this out, we keep moving left, even when it's in our side. How is that possible?
How
is that possible? Well,
Trump is enforcing immigration law like no Republican ever has.
Okay, so here's the thing. I was just talking to a DEA agent friend of mine, and he says, "Look, Trump's doing," and he's a Trump fan. He says, "Trump's, immigration." I said, "What part of immigration?" Because I know a lot about the immigration numbers. I mean, I'm in that field, okay? And he says, "Well, illegal immigration is down." I said, "You're right. It is down. It's been down for about 2.5 years now. But guess what's up? Asylum. He isn't blocking the asylum.
No, he
doing shit about the asylum.
What are you talking about? They're being held. They're being held at the Mexican border.
They're being allowed in. They're being about 70. I'm lying?
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm saying I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay.
The numbers are. Trump isn't doing as good in the border as a lot of Trump support. I agree with you, Bill. I'm with you 100%. He should be doing more. There's been a lot of lip service. And look, people like Ann Coulter, that's their big issue. She's getting thrown under the bus for criticizing Trump for that. And look, I'm not someone who's just going to praise Trump no matter what. I think you're right, and you bring up a lot of criticism.
None of us are. Yeah.
My issue with your stance is I don't see how you could say the big problem is the two-party system, which leads to corruption. I think that I could make a solid case that the two-party system is a symptom of the corruption and not the cause of the corruption. And I think that we see the cause of that corruption be the deep state and all of these unelected and oligarchical people that are buying the real control over our government. But that's
here's the thing. I'll say, okay, so I agree.
Hey, real quick.
I agree with about 40% of what you said.
Yeah. Bill, respond to him, and then I'd like you to give sort of your final point, and then we're just going to go around. We're going to kind of try to wrap this up.
About 40% of what you said, I agree with. Okay, I don't believe deep state. Okay, I agree with you that it isn't. The deep state, if we're going to identify them and label them, it's the bureaucracy. It's the people that are pushing the paperwork. It's for the politicians. Okay. Yeah. And the politicians are tied to what? A party. See what I'm saying? And I'm just trying, hey, I'm not saying this is the solution. I'm saying this is what I've narrowed it down to on my paperwork, that the two-party system has basically become the center of all the corruption that you correctly identified. Okay, so they're the center, and if we're gonna go at this, and we're gonna, if you're gonna sink a ship, you aim the torpedo at the freaking engine room. Okay, the engine room is the Obama political apparatus that use the social media to get elected. The engine room is in the center of the two-party system. They are colluding, if you want to use that word, colluding together to keep themselves in power. They play this game of hating each other, but they don't hate each other. If the Democrat Party actually wanted to remove Donald Trump, they could have done it. They pull the crap off that the right wing wishes they could do in their wet dreams. Okay, they do it. They didn't do it. Why? Because he's signing all their damn bills. Why would you remove somebody and put a guy like Pence in who might actually, veto their bills? So
you think the impeachment was for show, more or less, and you think the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers are for show?
Yeah, they're puppets. The people that are pulling their strings, the true deep state, if that's even real, because I don't like the term and I don't buy into it. It's too conspiratorial for me. But if there's a deep state, it's the bureaucracy that pulls the strings on these puppets that we see on TV.
But I mean, the irony is you say a conspiracy of that level couldn't exist. And then you say, but yeah, a conspiracy of that level exists.
Yeah.
No, it's not a conspiracy. It's just a system. It's a
right, that's just the FBI is. It's a system. I mean, it's part of that corrupt system.
No. I mean, it's a system as in, like a motor running. If you take the timing out of it, it's going to stop running. But the motor has been running for centuries, okay? And it's doing is it's feeding off of itself. It's not a colluded, game plan on a whiteboard in some, skiff somewhere in DC at the Pentagon. That's not what this is.
Let me ask you this question. I've been listening. I'm trying not to interrupt too much. So I don't know if this is going to happen, and I have my own thoughts on this whole thing too. Like with the, I know you said about you were laughing at the Q stuff or whatever. Q stuff aside, what happens if these indictments? What happens if some of these high level people that are deep in the corruption do go down, and all of a sudden we do start to see arrests and a serious shakeup of that very bureaucracy you're talking about? Are you going to change your tune on Trump?
I will come onto your show and I will celebrate with all of you. And I will say, I was wrong. I can't believe it. I'm shocked. But I've also nearly walked into the prop of a freaking S3 on an aircraft carrier one time. So, somehow or another, something stopped me from walking into the prop as I was climbing a ladder well. I've seen some miracles. If it happens, I mean, I'm coming on your show and I'm going to say, hey, you were all right. And I didn't see this. I didn't foresee this coming, but there's no way in hell that's happening.
My final question to that is, will you do it in your underwear?
I depends. I mean, do you like tidy whities or?
It doesn't matter.
Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. This was amazing. I really thank you so much for Michael and Bill. I really appreciate both you guys coming on. I'd like to have both of you come back if you're interested, and we can continue this discussion and another show. I really like getting in other voices here and having a real discussion rather than just a big echo chamber. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate it, and I just want to kind of go down the line here, SJG, Robert, then Bill and Michael, and just kind of say your piece, and we'll wrap it up.
Well, yeah, no, I had a lot of questions I didn't get to. One question I do have to ask as we're wrapping it up, so make your response quick. Are you a big like American First Nick Fuentes type supporter, Bill?
Who is it again?
Nick Fuentes.
I don't even know who that is.
Okay, all right. I just was curious. Anyways, hey, I thought it was good. I thought you are well spoken and you had your points, well laid out. I think I kind of disagree with some of them, but I think there's other ones that we would definitely agree on. I would like to have you back on though to talk about some immigration, and maybe we can focus on a couple points too, because that maybe we kind of do agree on, not to get in an echo chamber, but to get your perspective from some subjects that we do, I think, agree on. But I appreciate you coming on here, man. And I know it got a little heated. I'm going to give it over to Rob here in a second, but thank you for your time, and we do appreciate it, man.
No
and
problem.
Subscribe to SJG.
Yeah, subscribe to SJG. Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Michael too. Thank you for being here. Bill. Yeah. I mean, listen, of course, I really appreciate your attitude in that. I'm the same way as you, man, where I get heated, but I love it. I love debate. I love disagreeing. Life's no fun if we all agree. So, and I I think we agree on a lot. I agree with the idea of there's a corruption that we need to solve, that Trump's he doesn't do everything perfect. I agree with that. He's not the most conservative guy ever. I agree with that. So we agree on all of that. But where we disagree is we need to triage and we need to fight the corruption first. Where the corruption comes from, whether it be the FBI, blah, 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 the deep state, whatever you want to call it, or the two-party system, I think the name or that diagnosis is basically irrelevant. I think instead what is relevant is how best to fight it. And I think the parts where I disagree with you is that somehow supporting a deep stater like Justin Amash, who's pushing the corruption of the intel agency, is not the way to go about it. And lastly, although I thought you were well-spoken, I have to go out on this. I mean, for those that are maybe listening thinking, hey, I think Bill had some good points. I mean, you literally said the FBI is the most innocent in all of this, which is one of the most laughable things I've heard in quite some time. So I appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
We'll revisit that at another stream.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right. Well, I mean, they're just an apparatus of the system. So I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I think it's probably because I work with the agent level, not the Comey level. You know, but I do appreciate this. I think you're right. I think you have some things that I would agree with. I think if we come back on, maybe, and I love heated debates myself as well. Yeah. Done a lot of them. But I would really like to see if you can convince me of some of the points that I don't agree with you on, and vice versa, and have maybe kind of like a roundtable discussion.
Sure.
Because I'm open to the fact that, you know, I could just be blinded by my own, you know, anger at what has happened, especially with, you know, Trump's record so far. It's just abysmal. And I would love to come back on and go back and forth on, you know, a list of topics, you know, one by one, and just stick to them until we come to some sort of a consensus.
We will.
Yeah, for sure.
Agree to disagree, or just, hey, I agree with you. I'm changing my mind. Yeah,
we will do that, Bill.
Cool.
Go ahead, Michael.
So if I may, before we all go.
He speaks.
Well, I do speak. I was just, you know, listening, and I'm not as deeply political as some of you guys are. Again, I am kind of somewhat new to all these game, and I've been politicized somewhat later. So I do not think that I can convince Bill in anything. I can just follow up, because I think he's pretty well set in his ways, and no matter what Trump or not Trump does, it's never going to be sufficient.
Well, I tell you what, a foreigner like yourself probably has far more insight into us than we do of ourselves and each other. And I can tell you this, I said this in the Tea Party movement in 2012. It's not going to be an American that saves America. It's going to be somebody that came here and has the credentials to be president, and will take us there. And I actually think it might even be a woman. Because
I'm neither a woman or have the credentials, but I'm going to say this, that you know, if I had such set political ways like some of you guys do, it would be, in my opinion, it would be like fishing in a toilet hoping for a tuna. You know, chickens are slim, my friends.
Yeah,
you gotta
agreed.
work with what you got. And
agreed,
point by point, debt. We are at $23.392 trillion right now, which, if you compare it to the trajectory of debt that previous administration had incurred, this is pretty good number. We're what, like 1 point something trillion extra for 3.5 years, and how much that the current government has done. It's pretty damn good from the business standpoint. I understand it's not perfect. I would like this debt to go down. But if you compare it to the gain in the GDP, it's actually well compensated against the GDP ratio. And again, I'm not talking like politician, because politicians
throw it, Parker, throw it.
All upset. I would be like, oh my God, the debt has to go. You know, Trump, write that wonderful check and cover it with your own money. But it's not happening. Russia collusion, as I mentioned earlier, I am sure Russia had something to do with something. So did China, did Israel, many other countries.
And so do we to everybody else.
And you know, we are all Americans now, people that overthrew governments with machine guns and, you know, fast airplanes. We really, really have no moral high ground to be complaining. I wish we would not speak about it this much because we're boosting egos of Putin and all the others. And it's just this political pandering. We just need to mention it, get tougher, and live through it. And that is it. It was no. I do believe that Putin had no physical capability to go into those voting machines, change votes. It was people that pushed those buttons. It was people just like you and I voted and put this man in the White House. And why they did it, it is obviously clear because he was hugely different from what we had before. Look at, you know, as far as true conservative, true Democrat, look at what's his face, Bloomberg, you know, that fella. Used to be Republican, then independent. Now he is seemingly Democrat or wannabe. You know, he is spending gajillion dollars. And what is it getting him? Speaking of collusion, Russia spent what, 3 million or 300,000? I never even heard the definitive number. He spent 300 million or 500 million, God knows, and he'll spend billions.
Yes.
And is he leading Trump by double digits anywhere? Doesn't look like it. If you look at English, you know, British bookies that actually
no, but financially he's leading him by double digits.
Yeah.
In California, he does. Yes, right. So if you look at English bookies that actually take bets for money, he is what, about 17 times less likely to win the election than Trump, and about 4 times less likely than Bernie. And Bernie, what, he's running off of people's $5 bills and some dandruff that he is, you know, shaking off. So someone here, to get back to socialism, this person, Dakota Dead, I actually like his comment. He said that socialism only works in very small environments. That is brilliant. It does. It only works in a capitalist shell. And as it consumes this shell of nice roads, acquired capital, taxation that is still available, and you have something to tax, it works beautiful. But as soon as that shell gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and it bursts, like it did in the late 80s and early 90s in Russia, it fails. So mad props to that person.
Yeah, and we're gonna discuss this topic more. We need more time, really. We've been going for about an hour and a half, over an hour and a half now. It flew by. This is by far, I think, the best show that we've done, and we're definitely gonna have you back on, Michael. And I think Bill dropped off, but we're gonna have him back. I thank all of you. I thank all of our mods for the stream tonight, and Robert and SJG. You guys go subscribe to their channels. Michael's actually got a car restoration channel as well that I think you should check out. We've been putting that in channel. I'll put it again. So check that out.
And he's making mopeds great again.
Yes, making mopeds great again. But everybody, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And come back next time, next Saturday, same time. Thanks a lot, guys. We will see you next time. Hey, guys. Can you hear me? I can't hear you for some reason. Hold on. Let me run this real quick and I'm going to end it.